That was about 9 days before I started showing symptoms. And well, you can guess what happened. That neighbor had COVID, was asymptomatic, spread it to me. Outbreak at my apartment building. Spoilers! Hi guys, I'm Katla. Welcome to my 9th episode. Today, the day I'm releasing this episode, is March 15th, which is my personal stay-at-home anniversary. So today is the day in 2020 that I saw the writing on the wall in Los Angeles, and we're like, it's getting bad here. We're going to shut down soon. For my own health and safety, I am going to stay at home now. I am going to effectively look up what stay-at-home guidelines tend to be and follow them for myself. If you're new here, I am a public health communicator. I'm like a science communicator, but I also discuss the social issues and philosophy of public health in addition to medical science. If you want to see more content on public health, social outreach, medical sciences, make sure to subscribe below. I release content on a near daily basis, so also turn on your notifications so you don't miss a thing. So today's episode is on my personal experience with COVID-19. I've gone through a lot of different ideas of like what I should be doing for like this anniversary, because it felt like a bit of a day I should acknowledge because of how 2020 ended up going, and this is what I came up with. So as a disclaimer, this video is not intended to be medical advice. I am not a medical doctor nor a public health expert. I study public health, I work in healthcare, I work in social outreach, and I like talking about this stuff. Also, this episode is all personal anecdotes. This is sample size of 1. This is just my personal experience with the illness. If you suspect you have COVID-19, you should be talking with your own doctor or the public health department of your region. So for a bit of background, yes, I am a young, healthy person, but respiratory illnesses are a serious issue to me. I have some chronic respiratory issues. I grew up very asthmatic. I was very affected by wildfire pollution in Southern California, and I had very, very frequent bronchitis type infections. I've had pneumonia multiple times in my life. I have Ventolin inhalers stashed in random places throughout my apartment. Like, literally, they're worse than my bobby pins that I randomly find lying around. Those inhalers are just there. If I thought about it right now, I could tell you that in my studio apartment, that isn't that big, there is at least 2 inhalers in my bathroom, 1 in my kitchen, 1 at my desk, 1 at my bedside, 2 in my purse, and 2 in my car. Yeah. And like, there's been other periods in my life where I've had to go on like months courses of antibiotics, and I've been prescribed codeine cough syrup on multiple times. My issues are serious, and they've heavily affected me. So COVID-19 was a terrifying prospect. And frankly, even though I've already had it and I had a mild case, I am scared of reinfection. I am terrified of the variants. I am vaccinated too. I'm a healthcare worker. So I got my vaccinations back in January. Still, I am terrified of getting this sick again, like this illness again, especially if it's in a new variant, especially if it's in a harsher variant that damages more. To go a bit more of my illness issues that in the frequent bronchitis infections, there was a point where I was 16, and there was a week where I could not get more than an hour of sleep per night, because every time I was just about to fall asleep, I'd wake up with a coughing fit. Like, I just couldn't breathe, and my body was struggling and struggling. That week was so horrible for me that, like, there are certain cough medicines that genuinely trigger, like, panic in me, like, when I taste them, because that was what I had to do, mitigate the coughs with over that week before I could get to a doctor, and it was hell. That's all I could say. When I heard about COVID-19, it was spreading to the United States back in early 2020. All I could think about is going through that situation again. Just a little plug for one of my other videos. I started wearing masks in 2018, but specifically for wildfire pollution, because of the damage that wildfire pollution had done to my lungs, and how with every wildfire season, I was getting bronchitis, I was getting sinusitis, I was waking up coughing in the middle of the night. I was waking up with nosebleeds, which was the new thing that was a bit terrifying, but sort of like all this stuff is also discussed with my doctor, so don't worry, like everything's sorted out. So anyway, actually let's start talking about how I experienced this illness. I have a lot of this data because I had an Excel spreadsheet set up to track everywhere I went and if I started feeling a bit ill one day. So I was just keeping track of like, hey, your body's doing something weird. What if it's COVID? And that proved very helpful. So it started on a Monday morning. I woke up, I had an upset stomach, and it was a different upset stomach than usual. Like, I'm not going to go into the gritty details of everything, but it was different. Like, it was bad, but it was different than, like, if I was having an allergic reaction or a side effect of a medication I'm on. So that was like, okay, let me make a note of that. And then, like, as we go through the day, I'm starting to get a bit more tired. Like, I'm alone in my apartment all day. I'm, like, maybe doing some coursework for my classes, housework, watching movies, something like that, passing the time. This is still, like, even though this was around the end of the first wave, we're still in the first wave, guys. We still are. It was just no big deal. Like, I had just gotten, like, an Instacart order a day or two before, so I had, like, meals to prep and food to make. I had things to do. So, the classes I take are on a 10-week scheduling system, and this was, like, week 7 or 8. I believe it was the beginning of week 8. And so, I mean, the one stressful thing is I had a group project over Zoom that week that I started being the horrible person in the group project that couldn't really keep up with the rest of the group and getting my work done. So, as the day goes on Monday and it goes into Tuesday, I start getting more and more tired. Like, I can't stay sitting up straight. I start kind of needing to hold onto the wall when I'm walking, like, in my apartment. I'm just a bit more exhausted. I feel like just getting back in bed every couple hours, and it's unusual. Like, I definitely start upping the amount of coffee I'm drinking because I'm like, oh, I'm just exhausted and stressed because deadlines and finals and this group project and all this stuff is coming up. Also, it's starting to get more warm out, so maybe you're just feeling a bit sluggish because you feel hot and this and that. And it started just come together of like, okay, I have this fatigue now. And then, like, midday on Tuesday, I noticed, like, as I say, I have inhalers everywhere. It's kind of second nature for me to just puff on my inhaler when it's like, I feel a bit of pressure in my chest. That's like a symptom of my chronic illness. I need to, like, just take care of it now, nip it in the bud. After a couple hours, midday Tuesday, I was like, you've done your inhaler a lot. You're still kind of wheezing. You haven't had anything to eat today, and you've been up since 7 a.m. It's 3 p.m. now. You haven't had anything to drink today. It's really hot. Like, girl, get yourself some Gatorade or something. Like, you're dehydrated. You're hungry. You feel horrible. And, like so I have protein drinks on hand to, like, try and manage, like, hey, you're not eating at all. Just sip on a protein drink, get something in you so you don't feel worse later. So I'm sipping on that. It literally takes me 4 hours to handle drinking an entire protein shake. It's a small one. It's like 8 ounces. It's 200 calories. It's nothing. And I'm kind of like, okay, I'm just stressed out. I'm just tired. I'm exhausted. I have classes. My medication might be triggering me a bit more. I'll survive. I'm fine. No big deal. Then Wednesday happens. I get out of bed Wednesday morning, and I mean, again, I've woken up at 7 a.m. Like, this was also something I'm really curious with COVID is how much insomnia it causes, because I was waking up earlier than usual. However, I was not being able to go back to sleep. So eyes wide open, awake. Nope, not happening. You're no longer resting. But I was also, again, feeling so fatigued. I couldn't sit up straight. It was a really weird dichotomy of I just couldn't sleep, but I also couldn't be fully awake. COVID-19 timeline. We are now at Wednesday morning. And so I have been feeling upset stomach, fatigue. I've been doing my inhaler a bit more. I've been feeling a bit more pressure in my chest, but not shortness of breath, not tightness. I haven't been eating a lot. I haven't been drinking enough at all. I am definitely sick in some way. And frankly, like, as these tiny symptoms build up, I was like, what is going on with me? This seems like very serious illness beginning. I have been so safe with COVID. There was, in the 2 weeks before the Monday morning when I had an upset stomach, there was one time where I went out of my apartment without a mask, and that was to check my mail. And I had a quick conversation with that neighbor. That was about 9 days before I started showing symptoms. And well, you can guess what happened. That neighbor had COVID, was asymptomatic, spread it to me. Outbreak at my apartment building. And then so I'm going out about my day, wearing a mask when I got out of my apartment for this. And I go downstairs to throw away some trash and to grab my mail. Didn't see anyone, didn't pass by anyone. But then I get back up to my room and I am heavy breathing. I am so short of breath. I am gasping. I am just, and this entire time I've been using the wall to support myself. I'm super fatigued. I even at this point had taken some chairs out and had them randomly in my apartment so I'd have something to grab on for each step. I even took out my laundry drying rack, had that as a guardrail to just steady myself, and I get back into bed trying to regulate my breath, and it takes 45 minutes. That was the moment where I was like, you have COVID. And on top of this all, another symptom, my brain fog was getting worse. It was hard to swallow. I wasn't eating. I didn't desire to eat. I didn't desire to drink. I could be super hungry, but food sounded disgusting and horrible, and I just couldn't swallow or do anything. I never had a dry cough. I never had a fever. Yeah, so I am just a mess. And also I should say the brain fog symptoms are so real. I have ADHD. Brain fog is a normal thing for me. It happens. Again, I thought I was just stressed out with finals. I thought I wasn't sleeping well. And so Wednesday, realized you have COVID. This is me and my brain telling yourself my symptoms match to COVID. I haven't been tested yet. Now that I've gone, you have COVID, I should go get tested. Thankfully in Los Angeles, we have widely available and free testing. So I was able to sign up to get tested at a nearby location, but there was a bit of an issue. So my testing was scheduled for Friday morning, and my symptoms have improved by Friday. I'm a bit short of breath, but it's not horrible. Thursday was the same as Wednesday. I was basically doing nothing and just kind of laying around in bed. As I had classes and a group project to do, I was just sending apology text after apology text to the group chat for the project, being like, I am so sorry, I have COVID. I feel so horrible that I can't do the stuff. This isn't the kind of student I am. I am typically the person who's type A right on top of it. But no, I have COVID. I can't do anything. I had lectures on Tuesday night and Thursday night of that week. I was laying in bed throughout the lecture, trying to take notes, but just listening because I couldn't do anything else. It wasn't fun. I was so stressed and exhausted, barely recovering. I couldn't eat. Now that I kind of had an idea of what I was dealing with, I was try and eat this. I got another Instacart order, or got Pedialyte to be better with hydration, and now I have a taste for Pedialyte and I prefer it over Gatorade. But anyway, so my COVID-19 test was Friday morning. I had already been tested a couple other times and knew the drill, except for I never was able to make it to this COVID-19 test because of my brain fog. I couldn't drive safely. The only family member I had that I felt like I could, in any other situation, ask to give me a ride to a doctor's appointment or something where I couldn't drive myself would be my dad, who is a doctor himself, who is a COVID frontline doctor and has been working with COVID patients throughout the whole pandemic. I wasn't going to be the person to expose him to COVID. I wasn't going to give it to him. I didn't want to worry him. And I just was I can get through this on my own. So Friday morning, I was supposed to go and drive and get a COVID-19 test, but I was unable to drive myself. I just couldn't. It would be unsafe. So I couldn't get a COVID-19 test. And eventually, the next week, around Tuesday or Wednesday, my brain fog cleared up, and I went and got a COVID-19 test, and it tested negative. At that point, it was all my other symptoms were gone and I had no other signs. I had all these symptoms, but the virus must have cleared my body already. So then, thankfully, a couple months later, my insurance started offering antibody tests, fully covered. Went and got tested positive for the COVID antibodies. Talked with my doctor, was like, yeah, I had these range of symptoms. I couldn't get tested when I had them because I couldn't drive myself. And they're like, okay, cool, we got it. So also on the testing note, yes, I know I could have gotten a private service to come to my apartment to test me, but I didn't want to spend the money. Yay, America. That is my long and kind of rambly COVID-19 experience. Now, as I talk through this, it may seem all super casual, but it was hell. It was horrible. It was so stressful, so exhausting, not being able to catch your breath like that. Like, for 45 minutes when you've just walked up a single flight of stairs, that is terrifying. One of my friends who lived in New York had been in the hospital for 2 months with COVID at that point. So I was terrified I was going to end up in the same way as her. And she was the same thing as me. Young, healthy, mid-20s. You'd think they were no issue, but eventually she passed in the middle of June. She had a stroke. Like, she was cleared of COVID, released from the hospital. 1 week later, had a stroke and died. So it is hard and terrifying. Thankfully for me, most of my long COVID effects have gone away. I have some anemia issues now that my doctors think may be connected to COVID, but we're also in a place where, like, hey, any new health symptoms, maybe it's COVID related. I had some hormone symptoms during the summer. There was just a lot there's a lot of chronic illness we're going to see more in even the mildest cases, even the cases that were 5 to 7 days like mine was, even the cases that were totally healthy, didn't need any medical intervention beyond like over-the-counter comforts. We're going to see damage from that. We're seeing how lung scarring affected people. Like, the fact that I got to the shortness of breath stage, I never had a dry cough. Like, maybe I was suppressing that cough because I was already taking medications and like I was already soothing it out, but we have a lot to answer for with these lingering symptoms of COVID. There's so much we're going to see. It's just time. And all I have to say with this is get vaccinated when you can, as soon as you can. Shots in arms are what we need. Herd immunity is a numbers game. I will be doing another episode on that later. This is not a little flu. This is a serious illness. Like, also calling it a little flu is an insult to those who have experienced influenza. It is not good either. Get your flu shots when they're available again. 2, I'm ranting now. I'm kind of going off topic. Let me just put it this way. COVID-19 is serious. It is not nothing. Even in the most mildest case, there is a chance of chronic illness coming back up. It's just important to take care of yourself, protect yourself. Don't be dumb. Apparently, we may see a 4th wave. Don't be part of the 4th wave. Keep protecting yourself. Even if you can go without a mask, even if you can go to a 100% capacity restaurant, do you really need to? If you've been able to get through this pandemic this past year without having COVID-19, you're lucky. Be grateful. Don't risk that. Keep staying safe. Just another reminder to please like, subscribe, comment your own COVID-19 experience if you've also had this illness. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Stereo, links will be in the description. Please check out my other episodes. As I mentioned earlier, I have an episode on why I started wearing a mask in 2018. That'll also be linked below. And so, guys, stay safe, wear a mask, even if you don't have to. I'll see you later. One of the classes I was taking while I had COVID was virology, and I was so tempted to message my professor and be like, can I get extra credit for experiencing the pandemic while taking your class?